year now. You took over at the back end of last season. How did you sort of end up in the position?
Well, my time at Watford came to an abrupt end. I had a difference of opinion with the chairman at Watford Ladies, and the very next day I went into work. I work as an employability practitioner, and one of the players, Wycombe Wanderers players, had attended a few of my workshops. So, as it happened, that very next morning, I came in, and Shante Ennis, she was in my workshop.
Oh, really? Okay.
And I said to her, is there any vacancies going on at Wycombe? You know, we used to have a bit of banter every time she came in. And she goes, funny enough, the manager's just left and there's a vacancy. So I went to my desk quite quickly. I had sent my CV off to Nigel Kingston. He emailed me back within 15 minutes. I met him down at Adams Park a few days later, him and Tony. And yeah, done a presentation. A few days later, went down and met the players at Beaconsfield.
Which is where we trained before.
Yeah, their previous training ground, and done a session there, a trial session down there. They contacted me on the weekend and offered me the position.
What was your first impressions of not just the club but at the squad and everything you sort of inherited?
Well, there wasn't much to inherit really. First impressions was there was an under-18s that had done really well. They just won the cup. They're quite thriving, and there was a reserve team as such. But the first team, there wasn't many players at all really. I think in the first few training sessions there was Cara Howes, Emma Kern, Shante Ennis was really the only ones that were there. So there wasn't really much to speak of, and in total I think it was around about 7 first team players. There was lots of them were injured with ACLs, a lot of players were disengaged. So it was a big job, there was a lot to be done.
And compare that to now. I mean, we're here, it's a Thursday, the season's finished, and there's 40-odd girls here at training, so, you know, that in a year, that must be quite pleasing for you. Yeah,
I mean, we brought in a lot of players last season to bolster the squads. Obviously, we always get the dropouts with university, where players get to 18 and they go to university and so forth. So we had to replenish the under-18s and the reserves as well, and obviously recruit players for the first team, which was more of a quantity over quality situation. But yeah, we're in a much different situation now. We have a lot of really good players, and we're just looking for those 1 or 2 players now that can take us to the next level.
Easy or hard was it to kind of implement that culture, that positive culture that you really wanted coming in?
It was different. When I got here, the players were training once a week. Their training facilities at Beaconsfield, really good pitch, but they wasn't playing there. So I think the reserves and the 18s were playing at Lane End, and the first team were playing their games at Flackwell Heath, but they didn't really seem to have a home as such. And training was, from what I hear, sometimes on, sometimes it was off. So it wasn't really, to the latter stages, I'd say, for maybe obvious reasons. It wasn't continuous training, and it wasn't a lot of coaches there doing the work. So when we came in, I suppose to some of the players it was a bit of a shock, because from day one we were like 2 sessions a week, 2-hour sessions. There's certain expectations on the players in how they behave and how they work, and I think there was a bit of a, we come to training to play 5-a-side and have a jolly sort of thing, and we're trying to work on principles of play and things like that, and some of the players were a little bit like, slow down. So it was the balancing act, and trying to get some of the players on board with what we were trying to do. We had a lot of players who, quite experienced players, played for many, many years, and they've done things their own way. And we're coming in and we're trying to change the mentality and change the culture. So that does take time.
Obviously, the first thing that comes to mind was that first landmark, which was the FA Cup game at Adams Park. Talk to me about what you felt that day and the day itself playing at a stadium like that.
Well, it was just nice to have that connection with the club. Having said that, when I first came in, I was introduced to all the staff at Adams Park. Met Rob Couey quite a few times, and he's always been very friendly and welcoming, and everyone at Wycombe has treated us really well. I have to say that. And letting us play at Adams Park in the FA Cup was, I suppose, them showing that to the outside public. So that was a great day for us in the FA Cup there.
fast forward to February, which was actually the next time we won. What was that period like between September and February? How did you sort of, through the couple of draws, and we drew away against Ascot, but the losses, how did you sort of keep yourself and your team and then the club motivated in that sort of tricky transitional period?
It was a difficult time because we'd done a lot of work signing players, but we didn't really know the players, so we were just bringing them in, and then there was differences of opinion. Things happened. We went through all the processes. We tried to resolve a lot of issues, but we ended up losing a lot of what I thought would be key players. But we had to make that decision for the benefit of the club. So a lot of players left at that time, and I said to the chairman, I said, look, we're going to take a hit. We're going to suffer for a period, a little bit more than I thought we would.
Yeah.
But I said, if we want to go forward as a club, this is something that we have to do.
Things start to click. 3 clean sheets, couple of wins in the cup. All of a sudden we're in the semi-final of a cup, and we've got 3 clean sheets. That kind of sort of period almost justify everything that's come before it.
Yeah, I mean, you need validation for the work that you're doing.
Yeah.
And listen,
makes you feel good about what you've actually decided to do.
It was a tough period. I won't lie, it was a tough period. But I take that responsibility on myself if we're not performing. You can have any excuse that you want, but at the end of the day, you have to put performances out on the pitch. And when we're not performing, we're not doing well, it comes back to myself and my coaching staff, and we bear that burden. But it was nice when things started to turn around. But we could see the work. Thankfully, our supporters, they can see it as well. They support us really well. They could see the improvements, and it was nice to give them that reward as well, and the players to see that what we're doing, can be successful.
And some of those girls, because of the few outs that we had in the first team, were from the under-18 side.
Yeah.
And they were literally, 18, 17, 16-year-olds coming in and, sink or swim times.
Yeah,
and that was, that's hard for a 16-year-old to come into a first team going, right, here's your demands, this is what we need to do now, and there's looking after them and nurturing them and then hope keeping their development going as well as giving them game time.
Case in point, Emily Strange came from playing county football, under 16s football. She came through.
Prime example.
Yeah, she came to us. Really liked her. We put her into the reserves team. She was doing really well in the reserves, and then she had to go and play for the first team. And all credit to her for all those losses. She never wavered. She could have turned around and said, "Look, this is too much for me. I'm not doing this. This is hurting my development." But she grew in that period. And if you see her now, you see how she communicates, how she does her work, how she's corrected. And that's what you can tell with a player. Can they take on feedback? Can they reflect? Can they improve? She's done that. Everyone can see that. Bear witness to that. Ed Tolton, our goalkeeping coach, got to take a lot of credit for that.
Absolutely.
And he was really patient with her. When he could have been a bit more forceful, but we've realised she's 16 years old. She's 17 now, so we had to take the losses with her. And she's improved. Like I say, she had 5 clean sheets now. Last one being at the weekend, and she's going to be a great goalkeeper. There's no doubt about that.
Fast forward now, just this past Sunday we played Maidenhead in a sort of a post-season sponsors and sort of family day. Say thank you to our sponsors, and not only was it a nice celebration for our sponsors and our fans, and especially some of the parents and the families that have supported the girls through the season. Some of them that don't drive, driving them around, and that. We beat a Tier 4 club mid way through their league. They come mid-table rather, and we beat them. Yeah. What does that say to you about the sort of girls on the pitch that day?
It speaks to our progression massively. The players know me. I take on all comers. Anyone wants a game, I'll take it. I don't try and match teams to suit ourselves.
Because respectfully, on a nice day like that, we could have gone and picked a team not as strong as Maidenhead, give them a 10-0 walloping, and everyone's like, oh look, we won 10-0. Here's a token trophy. But we beat a team in a higher league, better than us, and we've gone and beat them. So
that came expecting to win.
You probably did, yeah.
But I'm always looking for performance. I like pressure, because I like to overtrain, as it were. Because it stands us in good stead when we go back and play in our league, in our division. And I just wanted a good performance. But what we saw was a lot of things come together on the day. A lot of the work we've been doing you know, when you lose games and you lose certain moments in certain ways, if you can learn from that, then it's okay, right? There is no failure if you can learn. There's something you get. It's a learning.
Is it the expression "you either win or you learn"?
Absolutely.
Is that the mantra that
and we have been learning. You know, we have been learning. The players have been learning. The players have been getting better. Some decisions had to be made for the benefit of players. Some players had to be taken out so that they could come again. You know, and we're seeing that now. The season's over. Players are coming back in and they've improved. So look, it's a learning curve. We know what we're trying to do. We're not just trying to be a club that just plays football because we're Wycombe Wanderers. We're trying to get ourselves up the football pyramid. You know, that's our aim. That's what we're trying to do, and we're not going to deviate from that at all.
Mate, thank you very much. Appreciate your time. Thank you very much.
Thanks.